gentlemen, I'd like you all to put your hands together and welcome Minister Francis Fitzgerald into the room. Thank you.
Mayor Eugene Murphy, Minister Francis Fitzgerald, fellow board members and partner agencies, early childhood care and education services and practitioners, elected representatives and everybody here tonight. I want, on behalf of the board and staff of Roscommon County Childcare Committee, to welcome you all here to our annual Early Childhood Care and Education Celebration Night for County Roscommon and to commemorate our 10th anniversary. This event is organised to recognise the ongoing professional development of those involved in our sector and to recognise your achievements and ongoing contribution to the development of quality early childhood care and education in the County of Roscommon. I want to welcome you and your families who have travelled to be with us to celebrate your achievements, without which this evening would not be possible. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to the children from Greenfields Childcare and Montessori After School Service in Lismont. We are delighted to have you with us this evening. To the parents, voluntary management committees, members of the parent and toddler groups and childcare practitioners, including childminders. At this point, I would like to especially acknowledge the board members of Roscommon County Childcare Committee, who are made up of voluntary and statutory agencies and who support the implementation of the Early Childhood Care and Education Strategic Plan locally in County Roscommon. During the past 10 years, the representation on our board has changed, and I am particularly delighted to see past board and committee members here tonight and to acknowledge your contribution and to celebrate this occasion with us. A special word of thanks is also extended to the staff of Roscommon County Childcare Committee, both past and present, without whom the last 10 years would not have been possible. In our county, Roscommon County Childcare Committee is the coordinating body for the development of early childhood care and education in this county and is the body responsible locally for the rollout of the National Childcare Investment Plan on behalf of the Minister for Children and Youth Affairs. I would also like to take this moment to acknowledge the appointment last March of Minister Francis Fitzgerald to a dedicated ministry for children. Roscommon County Childcare Committee is also a subcommittee of Roscommon County Development Board, with whom we work closely, promote cooperation and link in with the County Development Plan and its strategies. I would now like to introduce you to our panel members and extend a special welcome to them tonight. We have Mayor Eugene Murphy, Minister Francis Fitzgerald, Kathleen Conneely from Roscommon County Development Board, Dr. Glenda Walsh, Principal Lecturer in Early Childhood Education from Queen's University, David Burke, Childcare Programme Manager from Pobble, Sandra Claxton, the Children First Information Officer from the HSE. Next to me on my right here we have Louise Ward from Roscommon County Childcare Committee and Irene Cafferty, the manager. Now I'd like to hand you over to Irene, who's going to go through where we have come from over the last 10 years and our hopes and aspirations for the future. Thank you very much.
First of all, we have Joe, who's going to play the violin. say it's one river. This is Chloe, and she's going to sing a song.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why? They know I can't die. If happy little bluebirds fly above the rainbow, why? They know I can't die.
We have a group of hip hoppers now. there are 14 children going to sing it.
Okay, I think they did very well. How about giving them a big round of applause? Okay, so for the next maybe 15 minutes, I'm just going to go through the development of the sector in County Roscommon and maybe look at the future as well. So the County Childcare Committee have, I suppose, developed a new plan, and we have 5 themes under that plan that we are going to work with the services on the ground. They are developing and sustaining, enhancing, communicating, collaborating and supporting the sector. So where did we come from? The County Childcare Committee, I suppose the first origins were in the mobile playbus service, which was set up in 1995 by the Western Health Board funding and in association with the Irish Preschool Playgroup Association. The playbus went around and supported communities to set up preschool services around the country. Then in 1997, we had a group called County Roscommon Initiative in Strategic Planning called CRISP. That group, I suppose, dedicated to the 0 to 7-year-olds. And on from that then, I suppose you could say that was the cursor to the County Childcare Committees being set up. On from that, the County Childcare Committees were set up in 2000. And I suppose Minister Fitzgerald, I think you were involved way back then in 2000 in the setting up of County Childcare Committees nationally, so you would have been there even at that time. Going on from that, under the EOCP programme that many of you would be aware of, the Equal Opportunity Childcare Programme, we developed a strategic plan in 2001 to 2006, and then the second plan was 2007 to 2010. Our new plan, 2011-2013, will look at our 5 themes, and number 1 would be to develop comprehensive early years support structures, infrastructure and services where the holistic well-being and needs and rights of the children are fundamental. To enhance the quality early childhood education and care and school-age childcare provision in our county, to consolidate the investment that we already have in the sector, and to support the continuing development of a stable, integrated and sustainable infrastructure. Number 4, we will work through ongoing professional development, build on the capacity of the ECC sector to enhance and develop quality early childhood care and education services for children and families in County Roscommon. And finally, under our objectives, we will ensure effective and transparent collaboration, communication and consultation by all stakeholders involved in early childhood care and education. And we will optimise the resources we have locally to support the implementation of the childcare strategy on behalf of the Minister. So I just want to look at the 5 themes and see where we've come from and where, I suppose, where the future lies. So in terms of capital funding under the Equal Opportunities Childcare Programme, we had 36 childcare services who received capital funding, and we had a total of almost 7 million approved under the Equal Opportunities Childcare Capital Funding Project. Under the staffing grants under the same programme, we had 21 childcare services receiving staffing funding, with over 3.5 million approved. Under the ECCE scheme, which is fairly new, the new free preschool year, we have already been approved 3.2 million into our county. And during 2011, that supported 773 children in 52 childcare services across our county. Under the Community Childcare Subvention Scheme, since 2008, 22 community childcare services received almost 2.5 million in subvention funding. Under the Childcare Employment and Training Support Scheme, the new SETS scheme, and that only started in 2010, we have 13 childcare services who have been approved 237,000 for the period September 2010 to August 2011. Under the Childminding Initiative funding, we had 120,000 approved under childminding, and we had 73,500 approved under childminding development grants. The total there under the Childminding Initiative for County Roscommon was almost 195,000. Unfortunately, the childminding development grants have been discontinued, and that's a pity because that was a great support to voluntary notified childcare providers, childminders in the home. So we were sorry to see that go. Under the Parent and Toddler Initiatives, in 2009 we had 4,380. 2010 we had a total in terms of, we pooled our resources with the HSE locally. We had 10,780 to distribute, and in 2011 we have 13,243 to distribute to parent and toddler groups. So we already have some of that funding drawn down, but if there's any parent and toddler groups in the county that would still like to access that funding, we have some of that funding left. There was a total there of 28,400 for parent and toddler initiatives. So from 2001 to 2010, under capital staffing and CCS funding, we've had a total in County Roscommon of almost 13 million. Other funding to date has been almost over 3.5 million, and that's under the ECCE scheme, the SETS, the Parent and Toddler Initiatives, and the Childminding Initiative. So what have we totally been invested in the county? Over 16.5 million has been invested into County Roscommon in the last decade for childcare infrastructure and support. So our second theme, enhancing, how are we going to do that in the County Childcare Committee? Under our Quality Engagement Initiative, we are currently rolling out the Shieldta programme in consultation with the National Children's Nursery Association and our Shieldta coordinator. We also have AISH, the Early Childhood Curriculum Framework, which we roll out workshops on and which we will develop further. We're also supporting the Workforce Development Plan with a range of training initiatives, both accredited and non-accredited, and the County Childcare Committee subsidises them on an ongoing basis. The Childminding Initiative, we will continue to support the national guidelines for childminders and the voluntary notification to the County Childcare Committee and the notified to the HSE. We will continue to support the networks, which is the community and private childcare providers networks, the childminding networks and the parent and toddler groups. We will be an advocate for and support to providers and parents on the ground. And in social inclusion, we will have the integration of children with additional needs into local preschool services and support parenting programmes therefore. We will also coordinate locally the National FETEC Level 5 Equality and Diversity modules, which are currently undertaken nationally. In the mapping of services, what does the County Childcare Committee do in terms of mapping services? We know there are still gaps in our county. So with the help of the HSC, the County Council and various agencies around the county, we will look at the maps. We also look at the mapping with PUBL as well. We have a knowledge of the local area and we know what's needed in the local area. We also work closely with the Minister for Children's Office on this. In supporting, how can we support the services on the ground? We have one-to-one support and advisory visits, and we link this to all of the Shieldta standards. We support the services to draw down funding for the ECCE, the SETS, the childcare subvention schemes, childminding initiative, parent and toddler schemes. We also support parents and providers in their transfer applications for children under the schemes. We support services in their voluntary management committee roles. We provide training and support. We provide business support, financial projections in order for services to have a fee policy. We also support services in their recruitment and selection panels. We review and develop policies and procedures for the services on the ground. And we also support services with job descriptions, adverts, contracts of employment. So it's the whole business side of it that we support the services with on the ground. Other areas we look at would be health and safety, the professional development training of the sector. We've also recently provided a mediation and arbitration service to services on the ground. And also we look at plans for new services that may be developing within the county and for expansions. We support services with their AGMs, their open dates, and also things like local authority rates. We would support services in that. We have a loan library within the County Childcare Committee where the students and tutors can come in and borrow the books. Our website has a wealth of information on it, and you all know the website at this stage, hopefully. We provide information packs, email, text alerts. We also contact you by phone, newsletters, advertisements, and also you come into our office for support visits. How do we collaborate on the ground locally? First of all, county-wide, we collaborate. We're a subcommittee of the County Development Board. Our chairperson, Bernie Morris, sits on that board, and myself, I sit on the Social Inclusion Measures subcommittee of that board. We work closely with the Community and Housing and Planning departments, and we also work very closely with our local elected representatives, our local TDs and county councillors. And at this stage, I would like to thank them for their ongoing support. They're always a phone call away if myself or the providers or our staff need to have any support or help. We also liaise very closely with the HSE Preschool Inspection Team, the Roscommon Leader Partnership Company, the County Enterprise Board, VEC and FOSS, the Roscommon Community Forum, the Brothers of Charity in Roscommon, the colleges in IT. We would have work placements with the colleges in IT. For instance, Sligo IT send some of their students on their degree programme to work with us for 8 to 10 weeks during the summer. We also support the national learning work and work placements as well. So we do have a social inclusion focus and a corporate responsibility as well, we feel, to the larger community, and we try and fulfil that. How do we collaborate regionally? Regionally, I sit on the Border Regions and Western CC network. Nationally, we work closely with the Department of Children and Youth Affairs, and under that the Childcare Directorate and the Early Years Education Policy Unit. We work very closely with the public team, and we welcome them all here this evening. We also work with all of the national voluntary childcare organisations, and we also sit on the Quality Development Out of School Services, the QDAS, in Trinity College in Dublin. So again, I suppose looking at our 5 themes, how do I sum them up? I suppose what I'm saying is Roscommon County Childcare Committee is local, we're adaptable, and we are responsive to your needs on the ground. We can implement programmes very quickly on behalf of the Minister for Children, and I suppose that's the testament to the work and of the Voluntary Management Committee of the County Childcare Committee. In sum then, it seems important to ensure that early childhood care services are part of a well-conceptualised national policy, with on the one hand devolved powers to local authorities, and on the other hand having a national approach to goal setting, regulation, staffing, pedagogy and quality assurance. I just want to give you some statistics, I suppose, about our county now as well. The childcare provision, what has the landscape, how has it changed over the last 10 years? For instance, our facilities in full day care in 2002, we had 7 full day care services. We now have 18, which is a total of 157% increase. In sessional services in 2002, we had 25, we now have 49, so that's an increase of 96%. With notified childminders, we had 2, we have now 5, which is a 150% increase. And the voluntary notified childcare providers to childminders to the County Childcare Committee has been a huge jump. We had none in 2002, we now have 21, which is a jump of 350%. So the breakdown of places. This is from our census 2011. We now have 698 full daycare places in Roscommon. We have 375 sessional places, and we have 834 part-time places in the county. Providing all those places, we have 29 community childcare services run by voluntary management committees. And can I just say, I know how hard it is to be on a voluntary management board, and I commend everybody that's working on those voluntary management committees. We have 28 private childcare services working in the county, providing all of those places. So again, thanks very much to the private childcare providers. Okay, the number of children. How many children are availing of our services in the county? And I suppose, again, I just want to take this opportunity to say this is why it's so important. You know, when we ask you each year to fill out your census form, and PUB will come to you and the County Childcare Committee ask you to do this. This is why it's so important. If I don't have these statistics to give back to the Minister can't lobby on our behalf when she goes to the Finance Minister for the budget, haven't I right? So we need you to fill out your census forms, and we need to have these statistics for Minister Fitzgerald. So I cannot, I suppose, emphasise how important that is, and to get those statistics right for the county. And I want to thank you all for giving them to us. So the number of childcare facilities in County Roscommon. In 2002, we had 579 children availing of the services. And in 2011, we have 1,822. So that's a great jump in childcare children in the services. So let's look at the qualifications of the sector, and I suppose bear with me, I'm only looking at level 5 at the moment, and again I suppose we'll be coming back to you for a more up-to-date census. I know a lot of the services are currently engaged in level 6 degree programmes and master programmes, but currently we just have the statistics for level 5. So again, the staff at VTech level 5 or higher was 267 staff, which is 89%, and with no formal qualifications, we have 33 at 11%. So the breakdown of the workforce then in 2010, out of the 2010 census, was we had 122 full-time staff, we had 102 part-time staff, 18 community services programme staff, which is very important to the sector, Minister, and I can't emphasise this enough. And I suppose one of the things we would really like to say to you tonight is, in the current climate, if you could see it in any way that those community employment schemes could be enhanced, because in County Roscommon, certainly because of our rural disposition, we would like to have more places, and I think the services would like to have more relief staff, and you would like to have more help. So the community employment scheme would greatly enhance that. So the gender of the workforce, and there won't be any big surprises here, although it's fantastic to see so many men in the room tonight, and you're all very welcome. We have 294 female, which is 98% of the workforce, and we have 2% male, which was 6 males that work in County Roscommon. So that's the gender workforce. So I suppose as a staff team, when we were looking at the theme for tonight, we said, okay, what's our theme going forward? We kind of wanted to say, well, look, we've done all the groundwork, but where are we going? What do we need to do? So we came up with 3 words: celebrate what you have achieved, celebrate what the sector has achieved, to inspire the professionalism of the sector. You know, you're the professionals on the ground. And I suppose if any of you, the other word was imagine, if any of you have seen that film with Jack Nicholson, The Bucket List, I certainly enjoy that film from time to time, and if I had a bucket list, I suppose these are the things we'd be kind of looking for and what we want to put on the national agenda. Funding, I suppose, first. I know we're in a recession, but I don't feel there's any need, just because we're in a recession, that we cannot be aspirational about what we want for the sector. There's a lot of talk about children having their say and consulting with children on their needs. But young children need us as professional pedagogists to speak and lobby on their behalf. We need, as the adults, to be a strong voice together in the room tonight for our young children in County Roscommon. Now that we have a full Minister for Children, and it's fantastic that we have, we would like to ask you, Minister, for a long-term plan, a long-term vision for the ECCE sector. And together we need to influence our Minister to ensure that we can sustain the funding, and especially the free preschool year, which has been a very positive universal support for all children in their preschool year. The scheme has been very successful with the take-up in County Roscommon ahead of the national average. When planning ahead, we feel that children with additional needs may need a second free preschool year, and that funding for special needs assistance is required in the preschool sector to allow for full participation of children with additional needs. I think we tend to use the term social inclusion very loosely sometimes, and until we put the funding in place to support children with additional needs, I feel we're only paying lip service to it. We need a vision for supporting children with additional needs in the preschool context, and we would be asking the government to consider providing a full 2 years of free preschooling for children who may need it with additional needs under our early childhood care and education scheme. In the unregulated sector, we would like to see the school-age childcare sector and the childminding sector been regulated. We know the impact of parents choosing the unregulated sector when accessing childcare options. We would like to stress the importance of informing parents of the quality aspect of a regulated sector, which is inspected by the HSE, which is Garda vetted, has appropriate insurance and qualified staff, providing a curriculum for the early years education sector. In terms of qualified staff then and supporting staff in their own professional development, I think in this day and age it's crazy that we don't have professional development days and a funding scheme for that. I suppose it's fantastic to see such a crowd here tonight, but we struggle to get people out at night because you're working all day. Sometimes the services can't afford to let staff out. They don't have relief staff. So until we have a training, a fund there for staff and to get relief staff, really we need that, I feel, in the county. We have come a long way in Ireland by developing our quality Childcare frameworks and also the framework Ashtor. But these now need to be fully integrated into the training of the ECCE workforce. We have the tools developed for our Irish sector, but there needs to be a support package put in place locally to support their implementation. We know that local authority rates are also an issue for our providers on the ground, and we would like to see a fairer way of implementation of these rates nationally. We know that the Minister is currently working on speeding up the Garda vetting process, and we welcome that Minister. We also would recommend that the SET scheme currently would be allowed into, that the third level education sector would be allowed into the SET scheme, and that childminders also would be able to be in the SET scheme because, again, of the rural disposition of County Roscommon. In terms of equality and accessibility for all families in rural areas, such as County Roscommon, we would recommend that the 3 national schemes are expanded to allow both community, private and the voluntary and notified childminders to deliver all 3 schemes. To conclude then, we have come a long way, but as the saying goes, there's more to be done. And it's up to us tonight in this room to keep the child on the national agenda. I want to thank all of the services on the ground who have embraced such changes in our sector over the years and acknowledge that it has been difficult for you on the ground with so many changes. I acknowledge that, and I applaud you for your hard work. We want to especially thank you for the wonderful scripts and pictures that you've sent in to us for our publication, which the Minister will launch later. I also want to really acknowledge at this stage the fabulous displays over there, and I hope, Minister, you will take a few minutes to go over and look at them, but they're just fantastic, and I want to thank you all. When we began to plan this event, you yourselves wanted a publication where your own services could be profiled, and I sincerely hope you like the end result on your table. I want to thank the staff team that work with me day in, day out within the County Childcare Committee, and I just want to at this stage really thank them for all the proofing and the hard work that they put into that publication. Thanks, girls. I also want to thank the board members who, I suppose, guide us as staff in the planning of tonight's event, but they really guide us very well and they're a great support, so I want to thank the board members. And to conclude, I feel no one organisation can do this work. Yes, we're the County Childcare Committee and we're the coordinators of childcare locally, but we need the support of all of the agencies on our board. No one agency can do it on our own. We need your support. We need the elected representatives to get behind us. Regardless of political persuasion, we need everybody to keep the child on the agenda. You have made the difference in this room tonight in children's lives, every day in the work you do as practitioners, and I want to applaud you for that. You should be very proud of your achievements to date and the effect that it's having on children, families and local communities which you work in. These are all better places for our young children because of what you are doing on a daily basis. Gurmila Mahagas. Minister, as a token of our appreciation for you coming to the county tonight, two of our children, Tara Nocton and Leah Hoey from Greenfields, and a board member, Des Curley, will now present you with a token of our appreciation. Come over here. Come over here. So Des, do you want to give us with you?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. That's really lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to call them up service by service, and there will be one person nominated then to receive the certificates from Minister Fitzgerald on behalf of that service. So the first service we have is Ardcarn Community Childcare Service, and Rosemary Gillespie will collect the certificates on behalf of Rosemary, Nolene, Debbie and Mary. Next we have Debbie Byrne, Childminding Service. Next we have Boyle Social Services, and Margaret Coles will come up for the certificates on behalf of Margaret and Emer. Next we have Busy Bees Childcare Strokestown, and Trace Rogers will come up on behalf of Trace, Regina and Keynote. Cam Community Preschool Service, and Mary Anderson will come up on behalf of Mary Anderson and Mary Crehan. Ruth Carney, Childminder, for voluntary notification certificate.
Thank you very much.
Caroline Connolly McLaughlin, Childminding Service, on behalf of Caroline, Jackie and John. Castlereagh Community Play School, and Bernadette will come up on behalf of Bernadette and Valerie. Cahan Ferry Bush and Anne will come up on behalf of Roscommon, Tracy, Sharon, Vera, Belinda and Monica. Coombe Breach Childcare Centre, Amy will come up on behalf of Catherine, Helen, Amy, Bernie, Susan and Shirley. Jenny Darcy, Childminder. Jenny in the room. Early Learners Preschool Balladrine, and Kathleen will come up on behalf of that group. Jane and Patricia. French Park and District's Childcare. And Teresa will come up on behalf of Martina, Michelle, Bernadine, Lisa and Teresa. Greenfields Childcare and Montessori, and Pamela from Greenfields. And Anthony is coming up on behalf of Eva, Pamela, Bridge, Annette, Caroline, Bernie, Christina, Elizabeth, Pauline and Kathleen. Grovelands Childcare. Regina is coming up on behalf of Grovelands, I believe. That's good PR, Regina. She was well prepared. Happy Feet Castlery and Anita will come up on behalf of Anita and Tracy. Holly Hawks Creche and Helen Cosgrove. Mary Hussey Childminder. Mary is going to come up. Mary Hussey Childminder, come up with her voluntary notification certificate. Kiltoon Playgroup and Blawheen Kenny. Linda Madden's Preschool. And Linda will come up on behalf of Linda and Mary. Nurture's Best, Creche, Termabarry, and Anne-Marie will come up on behalf of Kira, Katie, Kira, Carl, Anne-Marie, Laura, Mary Claire, Donna and Julie. Redney Roxborough Preschool, Maria will come up on behalf of Maria and Nessa. Roscommon Community Playgroup, and Bernadette will come up on behalf of Maureen, Laura, Joe and Bernadette. St. John's Preschool, Lee Carroll, and Bernadette will come up on behalf of Margaret, Keeley and Bernadette. Strokestown Community Childcare, and Patricia will come up on behalf of Patricia and Camilla. Tubbs Community Childcare. Caroline is coming up to receive on behalf of Marion, Sheila, Aisling and Caroline. And Wonder Years, our last group. Margaret is coming up on behalf of Catherine, Karina and Margaret. And Breda will come up from the Playhouse Creche in Katover. And finally, Country Kids. Is somebody here from Country Kids?
And finally, the last group of certificates are for the staff of Roscommon County Childcare Committee. I'd like to call on Carmel to accept this award, please. So the certificates on behalf of Helena, Irene, Arnold, and Matthew.
Okay, so we have two final very special awards, Minister. You're not getting away yet.
Oh yes, all right.
We have an ISCO award.
Sold.
And I'm very happy to say that this is a first for Ireland tonight, actually, for childcare. The National Irish Safety Organisation, who recognises the importance of safety and welfare in the workforce. And tonight I'm delighted to announce that County Roscommon has been the first childcare service nationally to be awarded this accolade. I'd now like to welcome Caroline Connolly McLaughlin and childminder in Carrick and Shannon to the stage to be presented with her award by the Minister.
Thank you. That's right.
And Carmel is our childminder and advisory officer who has supported Caroline in her work, so thanks to Carmel for that. So each year we also recognise groups that have got the National Children's Nursery Association Centre of Excellence Award, and we have had a few providers in the past that have had these awards, and the County Childcare Committee like to give them their own recognition of that. Tonight we have one group who have been awarded this recently, and I'd now like to call on Mary Dwyer from French Park and District's Childcare Limited to the stage. like to welcome our Minister for Children, Frances Fitzgerald, to say a few words and to launch our publication. A warm welcome for Minister Fitzgerald.
It's okay. Okay. Yep. Good evening, everyone. She tells it very well, doesn't she? Well done, That was a great description of the Roscommon childcare sector and the work that you're all doing, and also a very good agenda, I have to say, for me to follow in the months ahead. Very clearly articulated. Very well done, Irene. Good evening, and thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm delighted to come into this room and see such a wonderful celebration of the childcare sector. It's always great to be invited to an anniversary, and this 10th anniversary here is very special. I knew that I was coming along to say a few words and to launch a very fine publication, I have to say. I didn't know I was coming to a great concert as well. And very well done to the children and all of you who prepared them for the concert tonight. I see they've been allowed to head off, which I think is probably right. A late night for them. They've probably done a lot of preparation. We talk a lot about, listening to children and children's participation, but it's actually great to see it in action, and the lovely displays that they've done as well tonight. So thank you all of you who are involved in that. As I say, I'm delighted to be invited here to Roscommon to celebrate the sector, and I'm particularly delighted to be joined here by my very good Oireachtas colleagues, Deputy Frankie Feehan, Deputy Dennis Naughton and Senator Terry Layden. Terry and I soldiered in the Senate together over the last few years. I'm also delighted to see Major Eugene Murphy here with us, and the many councillors who are supporting this sector and this work by being here. Councillor John Cummins, Councillor Sean Byrne, Councillor Michael Creighton, Councillor Jimmy Kenny, Councillor Michael Mulligan and Councillor Paddy Kilduff. And I name the politicians who are here because I think it's extremely important to acknowledge the kind of support that they've given to the sector, and by their attendance here tonight are showing their commitment to a sector that for many years was really hidden. And as I watched what was happening here tonight, I thought of the many years when many childcare providers worked quietly and silently and with very little funding. And really, to see this celebration with so many people here, so many parents, so many providers, public and private, community, childminders, the partners in the process who are represented here at the top table tonight and amongst you. It really shows how far the sector has come, and it's great credit to everybody here for the Trojan work that you've all put in, and indeed to the government support and the European support that slowly but surely has flowed into the sector. And I really want to thank you all for the huge contribution that you have made to the development of this vibrant sector in Irish society. We've heard from the statistics that were so ably presented earlier just what the scale of this sector is in this county and how very important it is, both from the children's point of view, from the employment point of view, and just really in creating good citizens. One of the points I often make is that it is very important, of course, to have a Minister for Children and Youth Affairs at the Cabinet. That is a strong value statement about our 1.1 million children. Our children are a great resource, the best natural resource that this country has. And I was really delighted and interested last week to see the OECD report. Some of you might have spotted it was on competitiveness. And what did it say? It said that early childhood care, early childhood support, early childhood education and intervention made a country more competitive. Now, we don't often equate early intervention and good supports for children with our economy and with competitiveness. So it's very interesting for me to see that, and we shouldn't be afraid to say that and acknowledge it. And there are more and more studies emerging, and I go to more and more conferences where I hear about research that is highlighting the saving to the state by high quality early care for children. And it's not just, of course, an economic question, it's also about what it actually does for the child and for the child's family. We've known this for many years, and we have study after study to prove it, that high quality, not just any sort of childcare, but high quality childcare, like we're hearing about here tonight, really helps children develop their potential to go on to be the kind of adults we would all want them to be, to develop the various talents they have, to make sure that they engage with the education sector in the way that we would like. So to see what you're giving all of the children of Roscommon here tonight and to hear about it, and for me to have the honour of giving the many certificates that I gave out tonight, is really so encouraging because of what I've said, because of what it means to the children who have the exposure to the service, what it means for the parents who want to combine work and family life, or who are pursuing education or training, or just want to see their children having high quality experiences. And as I said, it is about high quality experience. It isn't about, as you've well illustrated in your presentation so far, it's not about any childcare service, it's about a high quality childcare service that has standards, good education for those working within it, high quality training, which is happening at the moment and which my department is pursuing. And congratulations to each and every one of you who received certificates tonight. I nearly kept one of them. It's very, very hard to get a certificate. You know, when we all look back at our lives, we're not presented with that many certificates. And as I say, I nearly kept one when you confused me with the balloons there. But well done to all of you. It was very interesting to see what you got the certificates for. A very wide range of training courses and expertise being developed by you over the last year in pursuit of those high standards. And again, congratulations for the effort and the work that you've put in very often in your own time outside of working hours. And you do work in a sector that's very demanding, where traditionally the pay has not been what it should have been, where it has been informal and unregulated. And you've brought the sector to a place now that we can all be very proud of. You should be very proud of the services you provide, the level of training and qualification and standards that you have brought this sector to, and you've done it here in Roscommon. So well done, and I think a round of applause for everyone who received the certificates tonight. One of the reasons I was invited here was to launch the new publication. I'm sure many of you have looked at it at this point. Our focus is early childhood care and education, and that clearly outlines the kind of contribution that I've been speaking about, which the childcare community have done and the Childcare County Committee have done in support of and implementing government policies and developing these services. It recognises the wide range of work in the county. You know it better than I do. I don't have to go over all of it with you, but just to say that it does include the Parent and Toddler Initiative, the Childminding Initiative, the Community Childcare Subvention Programmes, and more recently the Child Care Education and Training Support and Early Childhood Care and Education programme. And I know that the County Childcare Committee worked very hard throughout 2009 and 2010 to keep preschool service providers informed and advised about the preschool year in the Early Childhood Care and Education programme, which has made such a major impact on the sector. And I want to thank you for that. It's worked out, and it is working out to be a great programme, a great opportunity for our young children. You spoke tonight about the need for a second year. I'd certainly give a commitment to maintaining that first year, which is so important. I know in these difficult economic times people are nervous about any service. They're wondering if it can survive such demanding and difficult economic decisions. But I certainly intend to ensure that that 1 year stays, but also I'd like to see it develop. I share your vision for the sector. I would like to see a second year for children with special needs. In fact, I'd like to see a second year for all our children. Of course, We are constrained by the economic situation, as you well know. People are realistic today, but as the economy grows, that is where the fruits and the resources of a good economy should certainly be put. We've a job to do, as you know. We've tough decisions to make as a government. Reform is very much part of what we're about. It has its demanding side, as we well know, but I do want to say to you that I would really like to see this sector be supported and developed in the kind of ways I've said to you. So I look forward to working with you in developing the sector, pursuing those high standards which you place so high on the agenda here, and supporting the workers, the frontline workers, who at the end of the day are giving our children the kind of quality care that they need and that they deserve. So congratulations to you all on the work that you've done. I'm delighted now to launch this very fine publication, which I think is a real tribute to the sector here. It's a tremendous resource for parents, for the sector, for everyone who cares about early childhood care in the area. It's very comprehensive, very helpful, gives a huge amount of information and detail. So very well done to everybody who was involved in the development of this very fine publication, and I'm sure it will be copied at a national level and in other areas who do not have such a publication at present. You really are leading the way, so very well done. Yeah. So it just remains for me to say once again thank you to the Childcare Committee, to all of you who have supported its work, to those of you who've been involved in the delivery and the development of frontline services, to the children here, and again to the many people who came up and received their awards tonight. And again, thank you for the very kind invitation to be here with you. It's been a real pleasure to be part of this very important celebration here in Roscommon tonight. Thank you.
I would now like to call on Sandra Claxton. Sandra is the Children First Information Officer, and Sandra is going to talk a little bit about the new child protection poster that the Roscommon County Childcare Committee and the HSE have developed for your services. Please welcome Sandra.
Hello everyone. I'm really delighted to be here this evening to launch the Child Protection poster. I'd firstly like to thank the Galway City and County Childcare Committee, Mary Giblin and her team, who actually developed the poster in Galway. The poster actually came about because there was a need identified for early years services to have ready access to their local social work numbers when they had concerns around children in their care. As well as that, I think the poster is really important because it demonstrates that services are aware of their responsibilities to act when they have concerns around children that they might be looking after, and what their role is, and the fact that they have child protection policies in place. That's all really important. I think it's important to say that we're living in terms of child protection in very positive times. I would like to as well commend the Minister for the work that she's doing. Having a full Minister for Children is so important, and it's been a really important step in driving the implementation of Children First guidelines and promoting safe and positive practices with children and putting it very much highly on the agenda. In the HSE, we have a new director, Gordon Jays, who has real vision and is someone who has shown enormous energy and commitment to getting things right. And for me, somebody who's worked in this area for 10 years and has been promoting child protection, that's really very gratifying. In relation to the revised Children First guidelines, we have new guidelines that the Minister launched earlier this year, just to let people know in the services that we will be providing briefings to everyone in the early years services. I'll be working with the County Childcare Committee to actually provide a number of briefings throughout the county in the next 4 to 5 months, so that everyone can be aware of the changes in relation to Children First. Also, because of the new Children First guidelines, we'll be revising the early years Roscommon child protection policy template for services that we launched a number of years ago. So we will be relaunching that with the County Childcare Committee here and making it available to all the services in the county for them to adopt. I think I would have probably met most of you, a lot of you in the room, over the last 10 years when we've been doing the Keeping Safe training, myself and Joanna O'Reilly, the Keeping Safe trainer here in the county. And I'm committed to ensuring that every early years worker in the county receives Keeping Safe training. At the moment, we only have 30 people on a waiting list, which was pretty good. We're actually we're nearly up to speed in terms of having everyone trained. If there are any services in the room where people haven't had the Keeping Safe training, please get in contact with us, myself or Irene, to actually get your names down. We also hope to provide refresher child protection courses and training for designated liaison people into 2012. Just finally, I'd like to congratulate the Roscommon County Childcare Committee, Eileen and her team, on 10 years. I think we both kicked off about the same time, Irene, when we both came to the county. I would like to sincerely thank them for their commitment to child protection. They have been a great support to me personally in terms of my work and to my colleagues in the HSE around this particular area. So just to say thank you again, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. This is such an important area in terms of child protection, and as I said, I think we're in a really positive position at the moment going forward in relation to this area. Thanks very much.
The next lady I'm going to call up to the podium has been somebody, I suppose, that I met in my own professional development training. Myself and my colleague Carmel are currently studying for our Masters in Early Years Education in Queen's University in Belfast. And one of our tutors is the next lady that has really inspired us to continue on this path. I know she's electric, and she's such positive things to say about how they have worked up the north. So please give a big round of applause to Dr. Glenda Walsh, who's going to talk about the professionalism of play and early childhood care.
Just when Irene's setting up, I would just like to say that it's a complete honour to get the opportunity to come along this evening and talk to so many like-minded people who have the needs and interests of young children at heart. I had the opportunity to meet with both Irene and Carmel last year, as Irene has already said, as part of the Masters programme. And I'm saying no lies when I say I've never met two people so dedicated and so inspired and so determined to improve the quality of early childhood care and education for young children. And the high esteem that I hold Roscommon County Childcare Committee in has only been enhanced this evening by coming along to this venue. Just look at it. It's absolutely fabulous, and a credit to each and every one of you. The beautiful displays, the lovely publication. I can't go away without saying the lovely looking cake. And last but not least, those delightful little children who just say it all. That's why we're all here this evening. It's children, to improve the quality of the experience for each and every one of them. So I'm here to share with you some things that we have been doing up in the north in an effort to try and raise the professional status of play in our early childhood settings. And the title of the presentation this evening is, oh, the wrong one. Sorry, Irene, you have me the wrong one up. Sorry. Don't you worry at all. There it is. We'll get there, right? Don't worry. Come on, come on, come on. There we are. The professionalisation of play in early childhood care and education, a Northern Ireland journey. So just the overview. First of all, starting off with the journey of play beginning with the context in Northern Ireland, how we have developed play by the research evidence, and last but not least, the whole idea of this professionalisation of play, giving us the status that it really needs in our early childhood settings and beyond in the form of the concept of playful structure. So the context. Well, just to start off by saying, in Northern Ireland, we have the youngest starting school age in Europe. In Northern Ireland, our children are obliged to commence formal schooling at the age of 4. And therefore, in the past, those poor little children were coming into settings whereby they were presented with a reading book in practically the second day of September. And so we were very much of the opinion that what we were offering Year 1 children in Northern Ireland was much too formal, too soon. And thankfully, in the 1999, a curriculum review started where, in fact, our curriculum body finally realised that, yes, providing children with pen and paper activities at that very young age wasn't the answer. And they had the idea that children learn best when all areas of an integrated, carefully planned curriculum are implemented informally, using methodologies that are interactive, practical and enjoyable. Children, they believe, and we believe, should have the opportunities to experience much of their learning through well-planned and challenging play. So in an effort to get this all running, they embarked upon a pilot intervention known as the Early Years Enriched Curriculum. And where the enriched curriculum was concerned, the main aim was to remove the early experience of persistent failure and to promote children's sense of self-confidence and self-esteem. The methods behind the enriched curriculum were to ensure a greater emphasis on play, more emphasis on developing oral language, allowing those children to talk instead of listening to adults speak for the most part of the day. Laying foundations in number, but at practical number through sorting, matching, counting, rather than formal recording. And then placing the emphasis on those skills that are most important in the early years of learning: concentration, thinking and memory skills. So here we have a little reminder why we're here tonight, the enriched curriculum in action, those kids having fun, playing and learning simultaneously. And just to disprove the sceptics that yes, there we have it, children writing, but in a fun-like and play-like way. So, like any good intervention, it had to be evaluated. And this evaluation was one of the most rigorous ones that have ever been undertaken within Northern Ireland. A 10-year project which not only assessed the children in terms of their literacy and numeracy skills to ensure that they weren't lagging behind as a result of engaging in such an intervention, talking to teachers, talking to parents, talking to the children themselves, and observing in those early years classes using an instrument which some of you have become familiar with tonight, the Quality Learning Instrument, which focused on 9 key dimensions of learning. But those dimensions of learning that we talk about in terms of children's social and emotional development, their dispositions, their actual cognitive experience in terms of thinking and multiple skill acquisition. So what did the research evidence tell us after this whole 10-year project was undertaken? Well, yes, there were many good things that came from this intervention. The fact that the quality of the learning experience had definitely been enhanced in those early years settings. Certainly as well, most teachers had moved away from this very formal approach in the early years towards a much more play-based and developmentally appropriate approach. But in so doing, there still was plenty of learning to take place. We found that many early years teachers had difficulty in achieving a coherent concept of early years pedagogy. There was a tension between play as learning and play as a medium to ensure a high level of confidence, interest and overall well-being for children. Ensuring the optimal educational value of play was not always easy for teachers. And at times they had this muddled thinking about developmentally appropriate practice and child-led practice, simply waiting for things to happen instead of encouraging things to happen. And this also, the findings that we found in terms of the early years enriched curriculum evaluation very much sit nicely with the whole theoretical debate within early childhood education and care today, whereby there is a moving away from this romantic notion of play, a notion of play whereby play cures all ills, to a real understanding and trying to come to terms with how do we ensure educational value for young children, but at the same time maintain the social and emotional benefits that go with it. And therefore the challenge for early years educators is allowing children to express their autonomy and creativity through play, but at the same time providing enough challenge and structure to ensure genuine progression in children's cognitive skills. No matter how much we want to forget about it, our main role in any early years setting is to ensure that children learn in an appropriate manner. And how do we ensure that play provides that experience? So, drawing all the evidence together from the early years enriched curriculum evaluation and also other studies as well, we came up with this concept of playful structure. And by playful structure, we mean that there's an infusion of playfulness across all activities to preserve the benefits of play. But at the same time, there's a degree of structure drip-fed into the play-based experiences to ensure its educational value. So what does playful structure mean in practice? Well, what we mean, or what we hope it means, is the fact that it'll break down these dichotomies between play and work, where children do a bit of play and then they move on to the real business about work. It invites teachers and children to initiate and maintain a degree of playfulness throughout the entire learning experience, where all classroom activity assumes playful characteristics, not only the free play experience. It allows for adequate structure to support effective learning if required. And when we talk about structure, we don't just mean that structure is the responsibility of the adult. The child, him or herself, can inherently drip feed a degree of structure into their own learning. So I'm going to move on, just bear with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. So within playful structure, it rests on 6 key pillars of an experience. So here we have fostering a warm, secure relationship with children, cultivating playful, engaging interactions, and infusing playfulness into the curriculum. Those are the playful experiences that we would hope to provide in any early years setting, but complemented with a degree of sensitive pacing and matching, respecting individual differences, and managing progression and transitions. Sometimes when we talk about fostering warm, secure relationships, we almost feel that it's common practice. Sure, all of those early years practitioners, they're all mothers as such. They can come in and comfort children. But we know that each and every year, because of societal changes, the demands on early years practitioners are getting greater in terms of fostering and nurturing effective relationships with young children. And therefore, ensuring warmth, trust, sensitivity, consistency and appropriate boundaries is essential to ensuring that young children learn and develop effectively. And this is just a little snapshot of practice from one of the early years enriched curriculum teachers who tried to develop a cafe society within her early years setting to give those children who needed her the time to listen to what they had to say. The teacher, Mrs. Davis, takes her break with the children. She calls it her cafe society and sees it as an opportunity to further develop oral language work with a class of children, many of whom have come to school with poor language skills and many, many other difficulties. The children fetch their own break and take it to their seat. One girl, Jemima, immediately claims to have a healthy break. She does not put it up her hand before she speaks. Mrs. Davis asks Jemima to say what she has to eat and drink. Jemima names flavoured water, an apple and a cheese portion. Another boy chimes in that he has a healthy break too and names the contents of his box. Children now vie with each other to claim healthy eating habits. One boy, George, is accused of having a fizzy drink against school rules. Mrs. Davis asks him in a conversational tone whether that is true and makes a joke about it. When George acknowledges it, she remonstrates, but more in the manner of a peer than a teacher. Meanwhile, 3 boys at another table are talking about football and ignoring this conversation entirely. The main conversation changes direction when one girl says her mummy is expecting a baby next week. Mrs. Davis says that she knows that and takes a genuine interest in the expected event, asking a number of pertinent questions. Then she turns to another girl and says, "Your sister's going to have a baby too, isn't she?" The 2 girls launch into excited comparisons of preparations. So simply finding time in our very busy day to listen to those young children is essential to assure effective learning. Another key dimension of playful structure is playful and engaging interactions. And what you'll immediately see from these ideas that are offered by Duncan and Hannah is the shared responsibility of those interactions. It's not the adult's responsibility to always interact and take over the learning experience, but rather to interact and follow the lead of the child and give the child time to direct where he or she wants the learning to go, but to be supportive and to enhance that learning experience through appropriate scaffolding. And also sometimes just simply standing back and observing what the children's doing, valuing their experiences, valuing that play that they're engaging in is so much more important than going in and asking those very contrived questions. What shape is that and what colour is the other? Then creating playful opportunities. And this is more than making play resources and activities available. Sometimes when we go into early years settings, you're bombarded by the amount of resources that are available for young children. And at the end of the day, we have to remind ourselves that these children are only 3, 4, 5. And if there's so much available for them, not a bit of wonder with a load of butterflies out there instead of actual bees, because they just don't know what to play with. There's so much available to them. Also, we find that some resources, such as computers, and an overemphasis on computers, can attract gendered activity and gendered behaviour. And too many resources can also limit the child's imagination. So the classroom environment and materials should be flexible and open-ended, with materials able to play versatile roles and children able to easily draw connections between different areas in the classroom and move materials from one area to another. Sometimes I'm absolutely devastated when I go into centres and children tell me that they're not allowed to move the resources from the home corner to the sand tray or whatever it might be because it would cause too much mess. Another little example. The classroom assistant is taking a small group of children for a drama session. They've previously read a story about animals in the jungle. 5 of the children choose to don cardboard masks of jungle animals and hide in the jungle. One child opts to play a hunter who is hurt and cannot walk properly. The children decide that he should go to the far end of the shrubbery and shout that he is hurt and needs help. The heroine must rescue him, avoiding the fierce animals and finding a route through the jungle while supporting him as he leans on his spear and hops on his uninjured leg. The animals stalk him on tiptoe and enjoy making a lot of scary noise. The heroine supports the hunter back to camp. The classroom assistant provides prompts if the action seems to be failing, but she does not direct the whole action. But then the playful experience must be complemented by a degree of structure to ensure that effective learning will actually take place. And structure in terms of appropriate pacing and matching. Appropriate structure is planned to help children make sense of what they're doing and so to foster learning at their own pace, eventually enabling the child to develop a clear understanding of how learning takes place. So clear learning intentions must be behind the activity. The teacher must know, or the early years educator must realise, have a sound understanding of where they're going and why, but at the same time ensure that the young child has the opportunity to direct that experience. Bun making. The teacher, Mrs. Casey, is making top hats with 6 of the children. Coming back from melting the chocolate in the microwave, she reviews their progress so far. First of all, what did we do? We melted the chocolate in the microwave. She starts giving out the bun cases, 2 to each child, while assigning children recipients for their buns. You're going to make one for you and one for Mrs. O'Hare next door. She then asks them if there are 6 people making buns, how many buns are we making? One girl puts her hand up. A boy, Sean, blurts out, I know, 12, Mrs. Casey. How do you know that? That's 12. The boy says, because 2 and 2 and 2 makes 12. Mrs. Casey opens a packet of marshmallows, starts counting them out to each child in pairs. She gets children to count the total number by 2s in unison, gets to 12, then playfully doles out an extra marshmallow. And another one, right. Children protest enthusiastically. She gets them to say how many that would have made. 13. Sean shows her 13 on the class number line. The children begin to spoon chocolate into the bun cases. She asks them what is happening to the chocolate. One child eventually gives the right answer. It's getting hard again. The teacher tries to link this with the melting at the start of the session and asks what is making it hard, but nobody seems to understand. She leaves that topic and ensures that everyone gets the support needed to succeed in making the buns. When finished, the children proudly move to give the extra bun to the intended recipient. So again, learning taking place, but in a very playful situation. Likewise, structure within the concept of playful structure also addresses the need to respect individual differences. True respect for individual differences implies thorough assessment of and contingent response to children's academic, social and emotional needs. So at all times, tuning in to the needs and interests of the children where possible. But then we need to think of the bigger picture. We can't just think that we have these children for so many months and that's it. These children are moving on. We need to ensure that progression is inherent in what we do. Having a clear idea of the developmental pathways in different domains, using this knowledge to plan pedagogical sequences, moderating the pace so as to balance sufficient challenge with the lack of inappropriate pressure. Using appropriate challenge to ensure that children learn to persist with difficulty in the expectation of eventual success, and making the learning as engaging for the child as possible, lest children just switch off at an early age. And then transitions themselves. The children are moving on, whether they're leaving playgroup or nursery, or whether they're leaving year 1 and moving on into year 2 in the primary school. We have to be aware of where they're moving on to and preparing them for that transition. And we did a small-scale study with young children, asking them about the idea of moving on to new classes and about the different experiences. And yes, children in the main were delighted about the idea of moving on, getting bigger. The teacher asked you to do real jobs for her up there. You do real writing. P3 is great. You have to really think up there. So in this way, we can't just always expect that children just want to do more of the same and ensure continuity. Continuity is essential, but at the same time, we have to prepare them for a degree of discontinuity, whereby they'll meet that in the future, whatever it presents. So then, the professionalisation of play. Playful structure, in our opinion, enhances the overall professional stance of play within our early childhood settings. It moves beyond the social and emotional benefits to acceptance that it has real educational value. It does not intend to undermine play or negate the role of the child, but rather endeavours to enhance the characteristics of play to feature across all primary classroom activities. We also feel that it may be developed into more sophisticated forms as children grow older. For example, creativity, storytelling, playful attitude to numbers. And it's also a novel way of bridging the gap between formal and informal activity, work and play, adult and child initiation, and preschool and formal schooling. But this newfound professional status of play has major implications for the education of early years practitioners and their continuing professional development, particularly in Northern Ireland. So a concluding comment, and something that hopefully you'll take away with you. Displacing an image of the needy child with an image of a competent child must not result in the neglect of differences between younger and older human beings. We must not throw out the baby with the developmental bathwater. Respect for their competence as rights-bearing citizens does not diminish adult responsibilities. It places new responsibilities on the adult community to structure children's environment, guide their behaviour, enable their social participation in ways consistent with their understanding, interests and ways of communicating, especially in the issues that most directly affect their lives. So, just to end, where am I? We certainly believe that in Northern Ireland, that the concept of playful structure, despite a somewhat long and arduous journey, has helped place us in the driving seat for success. I hope too that in some small way it can help the children of the county of Roscommon to celebrate, inspire and imagine, but most of all, to learn. Thank you.
I'd now like to call on Mr. David Burke, who's the Programme Manager of Pobal, to say a few words.
Mayor, Minister, members of the Oireachtas, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of Pobal to be part of tonight's celebration. I got my invitation some time ago. It was 10 o'clock at night. It was dark, I was cold, I was tired, and we were standing pretty much in a field in South Roscommon, and I got my orders. And then Irene launches enthusiastically into a whole breakdown of what was going to be happening tonight. So, look, delighted to be here. It genuinely is a privilege. Delighted to be back in Roscommon. I'm originally from Tuam. I know Roscommon quite well. My father in the 70s and 80s had a grocery shop here in Roscommon town, so I used to be dispatched quite regularly. My father was quite a versatile guy, so he came up with these plots and plans how to overcome the limitations of being everywhere all the time. So he came up with this CB relay system. In the days before mobile phones, it meant he could be in the car and still in charge of everything. So there was one slight problem with the system. The televisions closest to the car would pick up the signal. So I always enjoyed the thought that there were people in Roscommon watching Biddy on the Reardons, wondering why she's shouting that Roscommon needs toilet rolls and cornflakes. So I'm here to fess up on behalf of my departed father. So it is a privilege to be back. There's very little at this stage that hasn't been said, so I will try and be quick, okay? I had the privilege of working with a woman called Sister Stanislaus Kennedy for a number of years. One thing she was always very strong on is capture the learning, tell your story. And I think that's what tonight is about. I think your presentation, Irene, tonight was excellent. I think it did just that. I think the publication is excellent, and I think it does just that. So, our experience of the team is also just that. The fact that Roscommon County Childcare Committee was the first committee in the country to actually secure excellence in people recognition validates that. We in Pobal rely on the local texture and the expertise that the Roscommon City and County Childcare Committee and all the other City and County Childcare Committees offer us. We are very dependent on you. Recent years have been a particularly tumultuous time, seen very significant shifts in early education and childcare in this country. In addition to, in particular, the impact of the economy, prior to that we had shifts in current spending, very significant shifts, where we moved from grants to actual payments for services, and that was a very dramatic shift for services. I think after the initial adjustment to that, though, I think it ultimately has been something very, very empowering. And I think it was on the part of the department at the time, the Office Minister for Children at the time, it was a very, very brave move. It was ahead of the curve in public policy in the sense of it very, very clearly structured things that it put the citizen, the child, at the centre, and it structured things that the resource very clearly followed the real needs on the ground. So I think it was a very significant policy development. One of the other most significant policy developments of recent years has been, of course, the free preschool year. The European Commission, in a recent publication, stated that early childhood education and care is the essential foundation of successful lifelong learning, social integration, personal development and later employability. The Minister mentioned the OECD report last week. Pobble had the privilege of hosting the International OECD conference last week in Dublin, and the theme of the conference was building quality jobs for the recovery. And we worked very hard in conjunction with the Minister's Department and 3 other government departments to ensure that early childhood care and education was an integrated part of the agenda to that for those very reasons. One of the themes that came through in that conference was that the skills that employers need and repeatedly report as not being able to get are the skills that are developed before any formal education. It's the little things like reliability, being able to eyeball someone, talk to someone, turning up on time, interaction, empathy, flexibility, being able to plan, being able to problem solve, confidence. I suppose what we tend to call in Ireland a bit of cop on. And they are the things that employers repeatedly say, in spite of formal educational attainment, they are the things they most rely on and find most difficult to secure. The free preschool year is such a vital opportunity to invest in each and every child at a most valuable time in their life cycle. And also, we're very conscious that the effect of the free preschool year has been to drive standards and expectations of families, parents, of services. It really is having a huge, huge significant impact. And the department's insistence of tying quality to the free preschool year has been a very significant opportunity for this country and for our future well-being and recovery. We know that Roscommon per head of population has over the past decade been punching above its weight in many respects, both in terms of the value of the Equal Opportunities Childcare Programme and the National Childcare Investment Programme. They've been very successful here, as Irene was demonstrating there, in terms of capital investment and the numbers of services participating in the free preschool year and in the number of services participating in the new SET scheme and in the total number of services within the county. So punching above its weight, so congratulations on that. Obviously a very good job is being done, and I think a lot of that comes down to leadership. And Irene also made the point about the demand involved in being a member of a board of an organisation. And I think just to acknowledge Bernadette and the board members of Roscommon County Childcare Committee, it is a very significant commitment, and I think you have to take a lot of responsibility for the success of the past decade. And just one very final quick point. I'm very conscious it's been a very good, very full, very interesting, but long evening too. One point I'd like to make about the apartment, just an observation if I may. One of the things I suspect a lot of people across county and city childcare committees don't appreciate is the significant level of relationship and engagement you have with senior officials and the Minister. That's actually very unusual to have that level of relationship. I think it's a testament to the quality of the City and County Childcare Committees. It is a testament to the symbiotic nature of the relationship there with the Department. But it is to an unusual degree, and I think it works. I think a significant development has been the development of the Department of Children and Youth Affairs, and I think a particularly significant development has been that we have secured a Minister who is particularly well experienced, who is particularly well informed, who is particularly dedicated, who is particularly articulate, and who is particularly energetic. And we are particularly blessed to have you, Minister, and that's genuine. Thank you very, very much. So, congratulations to you all, both in Roscommon County Childcare Committee and for all of you here in the room. You've had a tremendous decade. Well done.
I'd now like to call on Louise Ward, who's the Treasurer of Roscommon County Childcare Committee, to wrap up the evening for us. Louise.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight would not have happened without the support of all the key stakeholders, and I would like to particularly thank the staff of Roscommon County Childcare Committee in this organisation of a wonderful event tonight. The event has been hugely successful, and this is evident by the huge crowd that attended tonight, and it also recognises the support on the ground locally for Roscommon County Childcare. Not only has the event been a huge success, but a fabulous publication has been produced, and I know this publication will be around for years and years. It's user-friendly, visually very professional production, and a great resource for anybody seeking childcare locally. I'm sure you will agree that the finished product is truly a testament to early childhood care and education sector, and for that we thank the staff also. A sincere thanks to Minister Francis Fitzgerald for spending so much time in Roscommon today. We're very, very privileged. We would also like to thank Dr. Glenda Walsh from Belfast, the members of the County Childcare Committee, the VEC board members and the members and member agencies. We want to thank our local media, our mayor and elected representatives for their ongoing support and liaising with the staff of Roscommon County Childcare, and to the County Development Board, of whom we are a subcommittee. Without funding, events like tonight would not happen, and many thanks to the Department of Children and Youth Affairs and PUBL who fund our sector. The Roscommon County Childcare Committee is a fantastic value for money and operate with a very small team, but they are very proactive. The childcare sector is of huge importance to the economy of County Roscommon, who employ a sizable number of people. The Roscommon County Childcare are there to give support locally to all childcare services on a daily basis, but more importantly on a one-to-one basis. This local support is of huge benefit to services who have a myriad of legislation to deal with. Throughout the year, the County Childcare Committee work collaboratively with a number of agencies, and I want to thank those agencies for their ongoing commitment to the development of early childhood care and education sector in County Roscommon. Thank you to all the services and practitioners who work with the staff of the County Childcare Committee on a daily basis to implement the National Childcare Scheme successfully in our county. I'd now like to call on Councillor John Cummins to present the chairperson of the County Childcare Committee with a token of appreciation for the Trojan work in rolling out the childcare strategy on behalf of the County Development Board in County Roscommon. And now, on a lighter note, I'd like to call on Mayor Eugene Murphy to oversee a draw. When you came in tonight, you all received a pack, and inside your pack there's a ticket stapled to some of the documentation. I hope you can all find it now. for us, please. And the prize is bed and breakfast for the Abbey Hotel, and I'd like to thank the staff and the management of the Abbey Hotel for the beautiful presentation. And the lucky number tonight is 138, a pink ticket, and I think it's Bernie Cohn from Cloonbreed. Okay, I'd like to thank and acknowledge a beautiful cake to my right hand side. I want to thank Claire's Kitchen for a beautiful cake which you presented to the County Childcare Committee on their 10th anniversary. It's worth taking a look at. It's really, really beautiful. Now that our formalities are over, you can all join us for a bite to eat and maybe a dance or two with the musicians who are getting ready to entertain us for the next couple of hours. On a final note, I would like to call on Carmel Dunn to come up and say a poem. It was composed by the staff and herself, and it was presented to the Minister earlier on. So thank you very much, everybody.
Lots of little faces and lots of noise. Some make a mad scramble for the toys. A few unsure reach for a comforting hand. We reassure and understand. The news and stories we are told. No secret is safe, all unfolds. Children like to run and play, engage in different activities throughout the day. Art, music, stories and outdoor play. Play-doh, water and sand happen every day. Children learn throughout this play and have the time to have their say. What a privilege we enjoy, positively impacting on each girl and boy. A guiding hand along the way, fostering independence every day. The job we have is to protect and nurture these precious children, the adults of the future. Celebrate the difference we make, inspire the children on the route they take. Imagine together the difference we make to children and families all over this state. Thank you.